Now we are.
There it is. Quick roll call. Brian Casper, Chair, present. Mark Allen.
Here, present.
Janae Sylvester. Melissa Matuska.
Here.
And Nori Gruden.
Yeah.
We have a quorum. Sabrina, could you pull up the agenda? I don't think we have anyone here from the public
We do
who wishes
not.
to address.
And here is the agenda.
Cool. We're looking back all the way at our November minutes. Has anyone had a chance to read them over and or additions, corrections that we should note? I didn't notice anything myself. Oh, sorry, minutes first and then public participation.
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, like literally. I remember looking over for last month and not noting anything, so here we are.
Yeah, we've been diligently like making sure everybody's name is okay lately, so shouldn't be.
Yeah,
any
which,
issues
you know.
on that front.
Okay, cool. Well then let's vote here to approve the minutes. Quick by roll call. Brian Casper vote aye. Mark Allen.
Aye.
Nori Gruden.
Aye.
Janae Sylvester.
I will abstain because I wasn't on the call.
Yeah.
Okay,
that-
correct. Yeah. Melissa Matuska.
Aye.
Great. The ayes pass, one abstention. Thank you. Public participation, we still don't have anybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On to new business. Budget stuff. Sabrina, what you got for us?
All right, so sorry, there's the minutes. You'll see some of the expenses here that we've paid out. Most of this is regarding Telesco, and some of it's also regarding the event that we had with Janae. But you'll see the transfers in. That was the rollovers we got to pay for the stuff that was on my P card that was in the last fiscal year. So that was like the paint sprayer that we got and the power washer and those materials for paint. So nothing really too crazy there, but again, we should, if we're having another event, great, we'll spend some of that money down again, but we need to make sure we don't have any money left again. So we have some flexibility there.
Great.
When
On
does
the
money have to be spent?
it ends June
June.
30th.
Or July.
So we have 6 months essentially.
How awkward Jeff looks in
For our capital accounts, we have a total of 33,000 still left, so we can do a project if we would like with that money, a smaller mural, or if we wanted to do some installation somewhere. Again, flexibility on that. It's not MLK money or anything else. It's just Art in Public Places money at this point, besides $9,000 that's for MLK, but normally most of our work has occurred in that geography anyways. So we have the capability to be pretty flexible with that. If anybody has ideas, happy to help. I know me and Brian tossed around some things, but if anybody has a thought that we can install some art somewhere, we have some money for that.
That could also probably be allocated for some more robust event stuff too, like paying musicians and things, right?
That's more of an operating expense.
Okay,
for
so we
the
can't
most
use it. We
part.
can't use capital for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capital is
Okay.
more like if we're buying like materials, we can probably buy through a capital account, or if we're actually doing a physical installation, we can use the money for that. But if you wanted to pay artists and things like that, we have the other professional services line item
Right.
that has almost $6,000 that we
I always
can.
forget that capital needs to be
So,
Can
so
you
Brian,
donate paint supplies and something for, you know, if Naomi has a project with the school system, or I know I mentioned this a lot, to fix repaint or repurpose the traffic graphics that
Mhm.
really needs
Yeah.
some TLC.
Yep.
Yeah,
And, like,
so
supply the paint and then have like maybe somebody else do it.
that was one of the, that was the one request that we were thinking about, which kind of leads into what I'll talk to when we talk about the traffic graphic guidelines that I updated, but we can essentially relaunch the traffic graphic program with a like media campaign and do like a large call for multiple artists as if we delineate a certain amount of boxes and then use that 33,000 to, you know, do
Yeah.
20 boxes or whatever
Was
it
the
is.
original amount that we were paying like stipulated anywhere, or was that just kind of arbitrarily chosen at the time?
There, to my knowledge, there was no guidelines document in existence for the traffic graphic program. So I think the $1,000 that we were paying was just a random number that was chosen at some point by someone.
Yeah.
Which is to say, we're the ones that are now giving the funding for it, not David Shockley's group. So we have flexibility to say how much we want to pay anyone.
Right.
So it's really up to us if we want to up it, down it, buy supplies and just pay a flat rate, or however we want to divvy up the cash. That's totally in our wheelhouse to be able to do.
Cool. Well, it's good to know we have this little pot here. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, we could do a project like a bunch of traffic graphic boxes, or we could do another mural, or we could do, you know, there's so many options. It's just really what you guys want to do. I think the traffic graphic box thing being a larger thing and getting a lot of traffic graphic boxes done would be cool.
It would be.
Yeah.
But again, totally up to you guys. And I'm happy to put in the, you know, put in the work for it if we need to. As I said, I have my full staff back at this point, so my plate is thankfully getting a little bit less full, so I have some capacity to do other things.
That's great.
Hey Sabrina, the Eli Avenue where the train near the train station, does that still need to be completed? I haven't driven by it recently.
Yeah, we have, it's later in our agenda.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll talk about it later in the agenda so we don't jump around too much, but it's another pot of money that's not our money. It's the MLK money, so it's separate from this. And then 2025, 2026 requests. So our operating budget changed. Brian, they wanted to move the events all into the operating. So the 20 that we requested is all in the operating now. So that will be our largest change in the operating budget. Everything else is pretty much staying the same.
That's
And
in addition to, or they're raising operating budget just 10,000 to 20, or sorry, the request would be for 20,000
they
total.
added in the 20, so it would be the 30 or whatever the other professional services would be. So we would have it in another
Nice.
separate account for the 20.
Nice. That, Janae, that specifically would pertain to you, or that's where one of our requests was to, you know, to do more that, you know, more than just, you know, these little events, to do a bigger, broader scheduling of events. And so that's
And
what we're asking for.
Even if they are smaller events like we did, because I think it was really successful and not a huge
Yeah.
lift for everyone. I know Janae put in a lot of hard work on that, but for me and Anna to facilitate it a little bit more, now that we have a little bit more capacity on the team, I think we could do a more regular series or do something different, but we'll have that cash if it gets approved, which is great.
Yeah, and I think
and
it's especially, I think that money is especially good when we start bringing people in for panel discussions, or bringing musicians to play, or poets or whatever, that we can start paying some of these people a little bit more than a couple $100. So then people want to work with us too, you know, so we have people basically knocking on our door to want to do more of these events. So
I agree. And then for the capital request, we put in an amount for the Heritage Wall and the Route 1 Connecticut Ave / wall. That's kind of where next to where our current large mural is. Which I'll also talk about a grant opportunity. I could talk about it now if I want, because that's the only request we have since the events moved. But I also put in again the arts inventory. Hopefully we'll get it at some point.
wait, you only did the request for the Heritage Wall, not the Wegmans one?
That one's in there. It's in both. So the
Is it the
Wegman,
Heritage Wall to be cleaned, or is it to be something else?
No, it's adjacent to the Heritage Wall. It's the underpass.
I know.
If you're looking at it, it's on the right side. It's that underpass
so
Is
the
that where
Heritage-
the statue is?
next to it.
no, it's the highway underpass. It's just road under there.
Oh, I see.
But I figured that when we do the request, we can have the heritage wall be a part of it to let the artists have the freedom if they wanted to include the heritage wall in their mural that they could, as
Mm.
long as we're not moving the actual pieces of the heritage wall, like the plaques that are up there. If they want to do something around them, that's an opportunity that they could potentially explore. And not saying that's gonna happen or not happen, but we could put it in there as something to give like the
Sure.
flexibility if they wanted to connect it a little better. So we have funding for that we've requested. And we've
So-
also requested for that Wegmans underpass, which is small and probably won't cost too much, but a
Mm.
lot of people are gonna be driving that way from, not from the Connecticut Ave side, but from the Rowayton-esque kind of side. So it could be a good opportunity for an artist to get some exposure and to put something cool on the street. And like I said, we also have the inventory request in there again to hopefully get that completed at some point in time. So those are the two.
I have a quick question about the inventory. I know we had anticipated a certain amount.
Mhm.
I wonder if we could, if it might be possible to, or just prudent to have a lower ask for a portion of it, with the understanding that there would need to be more work completed maybe in the future, so that it's a lower level of ask, because they keep saying no. So I
Yeah,
wonder
I
if
think, so I asked that same question, if we could phase it over the course of, 3 years or 2 years to make it, 25,000 a year for the next 4 years, or however to frame it. And they told me to put the full amount in, and that when budget discussions come up, that we can tell them that we're willing to split it over a certain amount of years instead of just having it at the one time. So it's really just at the behest of the BET, the Board of Estimate and Taxation, who reviews the budgets, and then also the council. So we'll just have to bring that up when we're having those actual discussions to hopefully make it happen at some point. I will say that this budget season is the tightest we've ever had in my tenure here. So the answer being no is probably higher than it usually is. But you never know. We'll see kind of what comes of it, but those are our requests at this point. And in addition to that conversation, moving on to item B, it was brought to my attention that there's NEA grants that are currently open and they're due in February. They're for arts and cultural projects, so murals, music, kind of anything under the sun. And they go up to $100,000. So the last time we applied, the grant was like $1,000 that they were offering, but now they've upped it to between 10 and 100. So even if we get the lowest amount, it's still a good chunk of change to do something.
And who's offering?
The National Endowments of the Arts is offering.
right. Wow.
So we'll be able to apply for that. The idea was to apply for the Heritage Wall and then use that money to do the project if we get it, and open up our capital budget to be the more flexible kind of spending account to do more art installations or arts, whatever we want to do for a larger extent, because our capital budget is just installing art in the community. So it could be a variety of things as well. So applying for the specific project, I think, would be the best course of action. And just like the Bloomberg grant, if we get it, amazing, and we'll free up some cash and not use it or use it on something different. And then if we don't get it, then we still have the money to do it. So that's kind of where we're at. And then I attached the stuff for you guys to look at. If you want to look at it, go for it. If not, no big deal. I read the entire 50-something pages of the document, so I'll be ready to apply for us. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask for the full 100 for that specific mural. And if we get it, amazing. And if we get half, that's amazing too. And if we get $10,000, that's also great. So anything to help us kind of move forward. So and that's it for me.
Right on. Okay, we'll move item number C here. Event recap with Janae from the beginning of November.
Yeah, I kind of forgot what happened at this point. But, and now, so we hosted our mixer in collaboration with Space 67 Studios in November, I believe it was Wednesday, November 13th. And so the mixer was targeting the arts and creative industry. It was very well attended, very well. We had a great number of people RSVP, and then the people actually came and showed up at the event. I think we had over 100 RSVPs, and Sabrina, I don't know if you remember, but I think we had at least 90 people that checked in at the
Yeah,
table.
so we had, I believe it was like 112 registered, and then we had like 92 or
great.
something actually show up. And some of those folks were walk-ins, like purely were just like, hey, just heard about this, and I just,
Yeah.
I'm popping in. So it was really successful.
Do we collect those emails?
So yeah, we did.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, so we have those emails. And again, I mean, I was really pleasantly surprised. I think when we had originally talked about this, we had said like a high estimate would be like a 50 to 75 and for it going for more like 25 people. So to get 90 people is amazing. I think the energy was great. People were really excited about
It was.
being together in community with one another. I think they appreciated the food too. I heard a lot of people, just appreciating what we kind of offered at the event. Just good conversation. We offered opportunities for our event partners. I think we had maybe 6 or 7 who partnered with us just in terms of promoting the event. And they were able to speak at the event. So we had a few of our partners take us up on that offer and kind of just talk about their organization and what they're doing in the community. So yeah, I think it was really successful. People want to see more from us. In terms of, we had sent out a link in our thank you to our kind of a survey for people to join our arts database, or Norwalk Arts and Culture Commission database that doesn't fully exist, but we do have 13 people who completed that. And then, Brian, as you mentioned, we have the email of all of the people who attended the event. So
yeah, that's great.
Again, a great starting place for continued communication with these folks. And yeah, I think we want to do more. I just want to do quick thank yous. Steve isn't on the call, but Steve helped support with partner outreach and just reaching out to different organizations. Brian, thank you for connecting me with your wife. And, she did our backdrop. And then obviously Sabrina and Anna, thank you for helping getting everything together with the food and everything else. And then Mark as well, you were a partner for the event and, helped us with the sound and everything else. So, again, I think there's a great foundation here. I do think if we're going to do more, which I think is the plan, hopefully we can, Sabrina, I know you mentioned you may have more ability to kind of support these things. And I think that will be great and needed for sure. And then I think, with the commission as well, of course, just welcoming all of us working together on this kind of stuff. I think, I will approach what we're doing very differently if it's mostly me doing things by myself versus if it's even 3 or 4, or I don't know how many there are of us, 8, 9 of us kind of splitting up the work and doing it all together. I think it's a very different kind of approach, but I'm excited and engaged, and I want to do more. And I think if we can work together and have more people on the commission supporting the events, we can, sky's the limit. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. It was an inspiring night. It felt really good. It was the week following some terrible news. Depending, I don't know where everybody stands, but it felt really good and moving into the sort of holiday season and stuff too. It was very good vibes. So yeah, I think we need to keep the momentum. We're through holidays. Let's get a couple on deck kind of pre, Memorial Day, like it's in this sort of late winter, early spring time when people are kind of bored. We can probably capture some more people, and let's do Janae's a musician, I want to see some music, man. Let's do a couple Tiny Desk concerts or something, just to kind of a different type of vibe, but just show people what we're sort of capable of. So yeah, it was fun.
Mhm.
Right on. We'll keep moving here. Item number D. We kind of already touched on this a little bit, but Sabrina, for the record, do you just want to
Yeah,
quick
sure.
website
Um,
update and social media?
Yeah, so as most of you know, as I mentioned, with Melissa's help, we kind of took a look at the city's page of the Arts and Cultural Commission. We did edit all of that information on there, so everything should be up to date. There's also an active page for the traffic graphic. There's an active page for any calls that we might have coming forward. So we have the resources now to be able to put those things up and get the word out, which is really great. If any of you want to go take a look and think there's something we can add or something we should take away, please go ahead and do that. I'm happy to do that. And like I said, I have the back end access. So anything that we want to add or take away, I can do it quite quickly, which is really nice.
That's awesome.
And in addition to that, we will get an arts related page on Visit Norwalk. We're just figuring out how to do that and seeing if we're going to put that in a new scope with a new marketing consultant or if we're going to just do it with what we have now. But either way, it will get done at some point. We're just working through the logistics of that. And then on the social media side, I know I mentioned this briefly. There was originally the decision to kind of kill the arts and cultural account, well, the commission account essentially, and put it all on Visit Norwalk. But with the amount of posting that happens on Visit Norwalk, it kind of gets buried in the mix. So I think a better strategy is cross promoting or posting more frequently on the Arts Commission page. So we'll be doing a daily post on there going forward. I'll be doing those. So anything you guys want to send me that you might have, any information on yourselves so we can highlight you guys as well would be great. I made up Brian's with ChatGPT and like his resume from Lord knows when, but it's fun.
And the picture from like 2016 or something.
I was
2015
very
maybe.
tempted to put the long hair picture you had, but I
those are good. Those are more, at least they're more current.
Yes, but so anything you guys have that you think you want to share on that or anything that comes up that you think would be good to post on that, send it over to me and I'll Canva it up and post it up on there. But we'll also cross post on Visit Norwalk. So the Visit Norwalk stuff won't go away. It'll just be stuff we're actually posting and then cross posting on the other account. So it'll be like a double whammy. So I'm excited to get that up and running to hopefully get some more followers. I think we have 200 and something. So hoping to get that.
Maybe along the lines of cross posting, cross promoting, maybe there's room for us to collaborate with some of the other arts organizations so that we're always in the mix and conversations that are happening, like with Art Space and like the creative, like the Chamber of Commerce is having their Creative Arts Leadership Institute tomorrow, things like obviously that's short notice, but things like that, whether we can collaborate and cross promote with other arts.
Yeah,
people.
I agree. All right. Cool. Thank you, Sabrina. You're also the next one too. This is the Sabrina show tonight.
The Sabrina show. I'm
so
the next.
Basically, we briefly mentioned that we were working on. I don't think when we mentioned it, we were basically had already picked a consultancy, I guess you'd call it, a consultant to help us put together an arts and cultural plan. And that consultant has been selected, so I'll let Sabrina chat about that a little bit. It's still early stages.
Yeah, so the traffic graphic, as I mentioned before, there have been no guidelines in place.
Sabrina, you skipped one.
I did?
Oh, sorry, no, I skipped one. My bad.
The traffic graphic guidelines, I don't think anything existed besides like a page on our Arts Commission original website that said like, want to do a traffic graphic? Here's something. So I put together a guidelines document, which you guys have in here. Feel free to take a look, mark it up, say any changes you want, and we can make them before we officially adopt them. but essentially it says the traditional stuff, you know, this is how much we're paying you, this is what we'll approve and what we won't approve, here's the process of how to do it, and here's who you have to talk to. We did take out the part of DPW approval. We spoke to DPW and they essentially said that as long as transportation, parking, and mobility is okay with it, that they're okay with it. So we don't have to do that double step. Or
Excellent.
pay
That's
for
great.
permit fees, which is really great. So essentially the process would be they would apply. We would see the applications, review them in our arts commission meeting like we normally did. And then once we're comfortable with it and it's approved, we would bring it to the the transportation parking mobility team, and then they would confirm that everything's all good. And then we would just sign a contract, a 3-party contract with the artist, my office as representative of the Arts Commission, and then the transportation mobility parking department, and then we just go for there. So take a look at it, see if there's anything you want to change. Again, the amount can change. So if we're in consensus that we want it to be higher, we can certainly do that. Just let me know. And then we can approve them at our next meeting once we've, you know, looked through them and made any changes we want.
Yeah, I think it makes the most, I mean, I owe you looking through so many documents, Sabrina, I'm sorry, but I think it makes sense to make it a flat, basically stipend, and then we just cover materials, which is something we've been trying to do more of because we have a relationship with Jerry's and, you know, with Rings End and things like that. This is my intern, Izzy.
Yeah, especially the coding at the end, which I did.
Yeah. Which because those and graffiti coatings are expensive, but like we could buy, you know, 20 gallons of it. A traffic is going to take a quart.
Right.
And, you know, so I think it is a
That
way
used to
for
be up
artists
to
to make, what's that?
That used to be left up to the artist, and the artists generally didn't do it, and it really wasn't
Yeah.
successful anyway.
I have a question about the fee. Is there any way for our government entities or like our schools and whatnot that we can waive this fee, or to take a look at it as a per case basis?
So there's no fee that they're paying us. It's just what we're paying the artist.
Gotcha. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's
No,
not,
you're
it's not
totally
something we're
fine.
paying, it's something that we're paying out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there used to be a fee that you had to pay to get the DPW permit done, which since that's taken out, there's no
Yeah.
fee. It's just the stipend we're paying to whoever's doing the physical installation.
That's awesome. So if an artist could we say though, that if an artist came to us and said, I would like to paint this traffic graphic, and they want to do it complimentary or something, then we don't have to, you know, it's just a donation, right?
Yeah, sure. And then if they wanted, you know, paperwork to say that it was a donation, we can say it was the donation of the amount of the fee. So it was that we would pay out originally. So the $1,000, we would say that was their donation.
And especially if we have a relationship with, like, again, the materials, like I would love if people were like, hey, I just want to paint that, be like, well, we got your materials covered. So you may not be making a stipend, but you know, here's the paint. We should at least be doing things like that. If we have artists come out of woodwork who want to do that. I mean, I'm that kind of person. When I go to a city that I'm visiting and I find, you know, something to paint, I'm like, I'll do it as long as you cover materials. But I agree, like we should have.
And you say, and if you don't like it, I'll paint over it.
And I do that. That's how things get approved. You say, you don't like it, I'll paint it back white, and they never want to paint it back white.
Is there, I know we were looking at possibly using our capital. What's the total capital that we were looking at possibly using? Because I would like to put together a proposal or like submit
Yeah, I mean, I
something.
think we have that 30 some odd thousand left over from various projects. And I think what Sabrina was saying, and I agree with this, is that it'd be nice if we're going to sort of relaunch it, to do that in a significant way and do 20 of them, 15 of them, something. So, you know, by all means, I've been saying for a while now that like we just need someone to sort of take the reins on this. And Melissa, if that's you, I'd love to see that if we just sort of like put that out there.
I will help organize it, but I would like to propose that can we have 25,000 of that budget? Of that 25,000, 10,000 goes to supplies, 15,000 goes to artists, and of those 10,000 for supplies, I'd like to see the high schools and some of the schools, their art programs, maybe adopt a couple and
Sure.
do a couple, so that way they can be in charge of it every year and maintain it. And it's just a way to also promote others, because you never know, they might say, hey, can we have some other ones?
Yeah.
I think that would be
Well, yeah,
great.
let's get these
Yeah, that's an
guidelines
that's an
knocked out and
interesting
then,
idea.
yeah,
when
I think
people
that's
adopt
that's
the
a great way to
sign,
do it.
They can adopt the box. That's
And then they can
interesting.
paint it whenever they want.
And the other thing is, I don't know if I didn't look at the guidelines, decommissioning them if something happens to them, is that in there as well?
That's
So
something that,
the
go ahead.
decommissioning piece of it is in there. It just essentially says that we have the right to maintain the box and do whatever we want with the box. And that's basically to say to the artist that like, hey, you're installing this, but like if a car crashes into it, like it crashes into it and we have to figure it out. Or if like something dramatic happens where we have to change like the outside of the box for whatever reason, we have the right to decide what we want to do with the end result of whatever happened, essentially. So there is a clause in there that basically the artist is signing away their rights of what would happen to it if something would need to happen to it.
I mean, one of my big goals this year is to finally get Robert, what's his name, of Parks on the phone and actually get them to commit to some public art in the parks. And this is something we talked about a long time ago. I'm sure Melissa, Nori, and Mark remember this when we have these decommissioned boxes that are sitting in storage somewhere, about putting them on the river trail or something, like just basically getting a cement pad that you know, we can just have these sort of installed as part of like the art walk or whatever. And that's something that I want to see it, because I mean, people spend time on them. If it gets destroyed, that's one thing. But if it gets decommissioned, it still exists and it's still technically part of our public art inventory.
Yes,
So, yeah.
I agree 100%. And also, like you said, they're not doing anything right now. They're just sitting somewhere. They're not throwing them out. They're not doing it. So they're just there. So finding a purpose for them would be good, but in the actual guidelines, I don't think we should specifically say that we're gonna specifically do X, Y, or Z. I think us just having the freedom to be able to do whatever we want leaves us the flexibility to do something like you're talking about, Brian, but also leaves us the flexibility of if, you know, something happens that we're fine and we can figure it out.
Right on.
right.
Should we move on to the arts and cultural plan update? By the way, I have my headphones on. He can't even hear y'all. Like, this is apparently super interesting to him. Now he looks like.
So the arts and cultural plan, which we've spoken about a few times, we did with our committee select a firm. That firm is the cultural planning group. So this is literally what they do. Their biggest plus side that we notice as well is that one of the project managers speaks Spanish. So she'll be working on the project. She'll be doing the community outreach so we can get more of a diverse impact on our results, which normally doesn't happen with these types of firms. So we're really excited to see that. Also, they're specifically honing in on the district instead of just the whole of Norwalk, which they will have some programming that they'll probably suggest that is for the whole of Norwalk, but when they're really doing the deep dive analysis, they're specifically looking at our urban core, which I think is also great. So it'll be a little mix of both. I'm meeting with them next week for the first time, where we'll probably discuss who should be on the committee, who's going to be overseeing this, and how we want to move forward with outreach and all that fun stuff. So a contract is signed, the money is escrowed in an account for them, so it's all ready to go. And we're excited to get started, and expect an email from me that most of you, if not all of you, will be invited to participate in some way, shape, or form, whether it's on the committee for actually reviewing and like looking at the plan, or if it's just, in a participatory kind of focus group type of deal. That's a one-off. Most of you, if not all of you, will be involved in some way, shape, or form. So I'll keep you updated as we go along. I presume as work actually starts being done, that this will be a more regular item on the agenda for us. And we'll give you updates as we go. So it's really awesome.
Oh my God, no one will leave me alone.
The cat's now here.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah. The next item is just our upcoming calls. The City Hall galleries have been the same since pre-COVID at this point, maybe even longer for some of them.
Yeah.
So I've had I think up to this point, like 4 people reach out wanting to either the Mayor's Gallery or the People's Gallery and curate them in some way, shape, or form, or put their own artwork up. And I think the only fair way to really do that is to put out a call of who wants to do them and what they want to do with a set number of what we have to do them, and going from there. The mayor obviously will have some say in what gets installed as much as we do. So once we get that out, I have that draft over to Brian to take a look at, and then we'll post it up and go from there and see what we get, essentially. But since City Hall reorganized, a lot of what was against the walls has moved, and we have hanging systems that we ordered, Lord, pre-COVID, I think at this point too. But we have the ability to put more artwork up on the walls and hanging down from like just in front of the walls. So we can do some really cool stuff, and we have a lot of space to be able to do it. So it's really good.
Yeah, and I think this, Sabrina brought this up a couple months back, and it just seems like one of those, between people reaching out and people who just want to, I know there's people who want to just show their stuff, and we have the wall space, so it would be basically a free way for us to infuse some artwork into City Hall. Seems like an easy one, so.
Yeah, I think it's an easy, low cost, like it's pretty much a no-brainer. We just haven't had the manpower to push it forward, but I think we do now, and it'll be really great. And then the Ely Avenue fencing, which I know we spoke about a little bit already. So that account is actually from the MLK grant from the state. We have until December 31st of 2025 to expend the funds. So getting that out kind of timely, and then being able to expend those funds is going to be important. We did have a proposal from Oksana, which I believe we saw at some point in time in her process. But following, lessons learned from the mural that we completed on the underpass, I think it makes a lot of sense to have the set number in a call, and then putting that out, and then reviewing proposals based on, the quality of the work, not of what they're actually going to potentially install, but what they, narrowing it down via our guidelines to 3 qualified artists that we've chosen, and just making sure in the call that we identify that we want a community involvement process with this one specifically, and then just going from there. So that's also in Brian's inbox to review, and then once we've both reviewed it, we'll send it over to you guys to have a look at it and see what else you want to add, change, take away, and then we'll put it out there, and then essentially go through the selection process.
And some of this, is waiting on, and also me, basically rewriting, not even rewriting, just writing our artist selection guidelines, again, from lessons learned from the West Avenue thing, just to make everything very clear on how we do this and how we go about both releasing calls as well as selecting artists for those calls. And there've been a lot of really great ideas that have been kicked around. It's just a matter of me getting together with Mark and likely 1 or 2 other people to help really solidify that. And then once that's done, then we can actually put this call out too. So yeah, so to answer Melissa's question very directly, that's why we haven't seen any movement on it, is because we've been dragging our feet, but kind of intentionally, because we weren't sure how all that was going to play out, and we want to just be a little bit more clear and a little bit more open. Right now, it basically just looks like, because it is that we were just basically selecting Oksana to do that project. But and full transparency, we did offer to pay Oksana for the work that she did do on it in terms of material selection and research and all these things that she had already put in a ton of legwork for. I don't know if we've ever heard back from her about that, Sabrina, but
we did. We gave her don't quote me on the number, but I think it was like $5,000 for
Yeah.
what she did up to this point.
And she did a ton. So, you know,
Yeah.
she really did kind of at least get us started on that. And we, of course, she'll be considered, you know, for this call, because she did do it and she does basically have her proposal already finished. Which is also one of the things that we're putting, I think Mark brought this up in a previous meeting in this artist selection policy, is that we will look, of course, through open call, but also through existing relationships. So just because, let's say Oksana, for example, does not explicitly apply to the call, it allows us to basically invite her to submit a proposal. And that's something that I wanted to see happen, because then it doesn't require, you know, well, it's one of our problems with West Avenue. We couldn't pick someone locally because no one locally applied, which is an easy
Right.
out for us.
Right.
But also it's a cop out, really. So this allows us to go, okay, you know, Oksana already did this. We're gonna offer a proposal to her because she already did a bunch of work. Even if she doesn't
Yeah.
apply to the call. Anyway, I could go on and on and on about it. It's something that is on my desk, and yes, I need to work on it.
Yeah, the worst thing in the world is when people go, "Oh, I didn't know about it," and then it's
Right.
like, you know, that's where maybe, you know, I don't know, like maybe a Nancy or Norwalk could help us on a publicity side. So when we have a call, we raise awareness for the call. Then you do
agree.
that, then you can't say you didn't know, you didn't have an opportunity to know.
And again, for the people who come to our mixers and our events and meet us and email me and email Sabrina, and, you know, Janae meets someone or whatever, you know, we now know people locally who could do things, who may be a great fit for, say, the Heritage Wall. And we can just tap that person and say, we'd love for you to put a proposal together for this. You know, you'd be a great fit for it. We don't need you to apply to the call. Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot to like really suss out, and suss out some of the exact language of it too, because you don't want things to be vague. It's funny because I come from the background of, like, you know, the sort of art world where everything's like behind closed doors and everything's very mysterious. And I feel like, in a way, part of me is like, oh, we should maintain this, like, I don't know, private jury selection. But the other part of me is like, well, no, we're working for the city. We need to be really transparent about it. Anyway, we will be talking more about it for sure.
Yeah, the public perception is often that when the city decides to do something and take their awareness, is that it's already baked in by the time the public gets to weigh in. And I think we want to fly in the face of that and really just be,
I agree.
That transparency, I think, really is necessary.
Cool. I think that's it, unless anyone has any committee member updates. Anyone has anything?
I have a quick question. This is sort of in regard to capital, you know, potential budget plans. Brian, we've talked about this in the past. That white wall on the side of the Benjamin Franklin School, to me, is screaming. You know, that is city-owned property. I know it's kind of part of the Crystal Theater, which is their $1 a year lease or something like that. Do we have any option there?
I mean, sure, we do have that money from the capital request. Oh, please. I'm almost done. You know, I think, and because that's such a high traffic area, it'd be a great one to have like a rotating thing where it's like constantly changing. But not for this request, because the request is already in. We do have this leftover money that we could sort of stick out there as like hey, you know, we have $10,000, $5,000, something. Who wants to paint it, you know, basically. And we can be maybe a little bit looser with it too, where it's just like kind of what Melissa was proposing with the traffic graphic boxes. Like, if there's an artist who's just interested, it's just basically just they propose something, we approve it, and we have it painted. But I
thought about it, but Sabrina, do you know if there's any, I mean, the city has a lease with the Crystal Theater, right? Is there any limiting factor there? Maybe as far as the agreement?
There shouldn't be, but it's also, I think the facility is actually a Board of Ed facility, so.
Well, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
We all know how that
It's
goes.
impossible, but lessons learned, we have to involve them early in the process before we do anything.
Right. Fair enough.
Okay, anyone else have a closing thoughts, closing arguments? Okay. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
This is Melissa,
I'll
I
motion.
motion.
Thank you.
I'll
A
second.
Thank you,
I'll
Mark.
second.
Brian, I vote aye. Mark,
Aye.
Janae,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
and Nori.
Aye.
All right, I'll see y'all in a month or offline.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, everybody.